As the war between Ukraine and Russia continues to rage on, tensions between Moscow and Washington have intensified, particularly in light of recent statements from U.S. President Donald Trump regarding Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump's remarks expressing frustration over Putin's comments on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have prompted a response from the Kremlin, which remains open to dialogue but warns against misinterpretations of its intentions. Meanwhile, Russia's military strategy is evolving, with an unprecedented conscription of 160,000 young men ordered to bolster its military presence amid ongoing conflict and stalled peace negotiations. During an interview with NBC News, Trump expressed his anger at Putin's disparaging remarks about Zelensky, stating, "I'm peed off." In response, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov indicated that the Kremlin is still willing to facilitate communication between the two leaders and suggested that a phone call could be arranged swiftly. However, the outgoing German Foreign Minister Anna Baerbock cautioned that Washington should not fall for what she termed Putin's stalling tactics, especially as he continues to drag out peace talks while simultaneously strengthening military capabilities. On the military front, Putin's recent decree calling for the conscription of 160,000 men aged 18 to 30 by midsummer points to Russia's determination to reinforce its military operations in Ukraine. This move comes at a time when Ukrainian air defenses are reportedly achieving significant successes, having shot down a record number of Russian drones in March 2025, over 4,000 UAVs recorded, marking the highest monthly total since the onset of full-scale hostilities. The conscription is part of a broader strategy to augment Russian military strength as peace talks falter. Analysts have noted that while these efforts are underway, Russia's demands for concessions such as sanctions relief continue to complicate negotiations. The Kremlin's insistence on linking ceasefire agreements to alleviating economic pressures reflects a calculated approach to leverage its military position in negotiations. Amid these developments, Ukraine has ramped up its attacks on Russian border regions, particularly in Belgorod and Bryansk. This escalation is viewed by military experts as an attempt to divert Russian attention from critical fronts, notably in Kursk, where Ukrainian forces previously made substantial territorial gains. The intensification of these assaults is strategically aimed at spreading Russian forces thin and disrupting their operational focus, thereby creating opportunities for Ukrainian advances. In addition to military maneuvers, the geopolitical landscape is shifting as the U.S. and its allies consider the implications of Russia's partnership with North Korea. As North Korea ramps up its military cooperation with Russia, including the provision of artillery support, the U.S. faces a dual challenge of addressing threats from both Moscow and Pyongyang. Experts suggest that the U.S. should leverage multilateral sanctions and diplomatic pressure to curtail this burgeoning alliance, which could further destabilize the region. Looking ahead, the interplay of military operations, diplomatic negotiations, and international alliances will be crucial in shaping the future of the conflict. The U.S. administration's response to both Russian escalation and North Korean cooperation will be pivotal in determining the trajectory of the war as well as the stability of international relations in the region. As both sides prepare for what appears to be a protracted conflict, the global community remains watchful for any signs of diplomatic resolution or further military escalation. And the evolving landscape of modern warfare, drones are increasingly becoming pivotal instruments of combat, fundamentally altering the dynamics of military engagements. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has underscored the transformative impact of unmanned aerial vehicles (UAVs) on military strategies, as highlighted by Viktor Listopadov, regional director of Ukraine's Spetstechnoexport. In a recent virtual discussion on advanced unmanned systems, he emphasized that the integration of drones into the Ukrainian military has not only enhanced operational efficiency but has also set new benchmarks for future conflicts worldwide. Listopadov pointed out that drones have become integral to a multitude of military operations, ranging from surveillance and reconnaissance to artillery fire correction, strike missions, and even psychological warfare. The Ukrainian military, he noted, has demonstrated exceptional innovation in the deployment of these technologies, leading to revolutionary tactics that have reshaped the battlefield. The technologies that have emerged and developed in Ukraine could become a new standard in modern military affairs, he stated. Emphasizing the effectiveness of UAVs in reducing costs, increasing precision, and enhancing the safety of military personnel. Recent advancements in drone technology have enabled Ukrainian forces to execute long-range strikes and coordinate complex air attacks, as well as perform logistics operations and medical evacuations. Notably, a December 2024 operation marked a significant milestone, being hailed as the first instance of an operation conducted exclusively using unmanned systems. This innovative approach has proven effective, particularly in the Black Sea, where Ukrainian unmanned surface vessels have successfully sunk over 20 Russian naval vessels valued at an estimated $2 billion, incurring a fraction of that cost in losses. However, the rapid integration of drones has not come without challenges. Mike Tkachenko, business development director at the Amidst design group, highlighted the transparency that drones bring to warfare, making it nearly impossible to conceal troop movements and heavy artillery. This shift has created a new dynamic in combat, where real-time tracking capabilities offer unprecedented intelligence but also expose operators to a range of threats, including jamming, spoofing, and counterattacks. It is very easy to replace the UAV but not the personnel, Tkachenko cautioned, underscoring the vulnerabilities that accompany reliance on drone technology. The experience of Ukraine provides valuable lessons for other regions, particularly Africa, where UAVs can be effectively utilized for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR, border security, and disaster response efforts. The incorporation of high-resolution cameras for demining operations is another promising application, allowing for the detection of mines and unexploded ordnance in challenging environments. As the conflict in Ukraine continues to unfold, the role of drones is only expected to expand, with European allies reinforcing their support for Ukraine through significant military and financial aid. The Netherlands recently allocated €500 million for Ukraine's DroneLine project, while Sweden announced its largest military assistance package to date, focused on bolstering Ukraine's air defense and logistical capabilities. Looking ahead, the ongoing developments in drone technology and tactics will likely shape the future of military engagements, not just in Ukraine but globally. As nations adapt to the lessons learned from the current conflict, the integration of UAVs is poised to redefine warfare, offering both new opportunities and challenges in the pursuit of security and operational success. The implications of these advancements will be closely monitored as military strategies evolve in response to the changing nature of conflict. In a significant escalation of military readiness, President Vladimir Putin has initiated the largest conscription of Russian soldiers in over a decade. This spring, 160,000 men aged 18 to 30 will be drafted into military service, reflecting a broader strategy to bolster Russia's armed forces amid ongoing tensions with Ukraine and the international community. This move marks the highest number of conscripts since 2011 and comes as Russia seeks to expand its military from 1.5 million active servicemen to nearly 2.39 million over the next 3 years. Putin's announcement arrives just months after he emphasized the need to increase military personnel following extensive combat losses in Ukraine. According to reports, the conflict has claimed over 100,000 Russian soldiers' lives, with estimates suggesting the actual toll could be significantly higher. Vice Admiral Vladimir Zelensky has asserted that these new conscripts will not be deployed to Ukraine, despite past instances where conscripts were indeed sent to the front line early in the conflict. The timing of this conscription coincides with ongoing military operations, including a recent Russian attack on a power facility in Kherson, which left approximately 45,000 residents without electricity. As hostilities continue unabated, the Ukrainian defense forces have reported record numbers of Russian drones being shot down, indicating an intensifying aerial campaign by Moscow. Russia's latest draft of 160,000 is a 10,000 increase from the previous year, highlighting a strategic shift to leverage a larger pool of military personnel. Notably, the upper age limit for eligible draftees has been raised from 27 to 30, further expanding the pool of potential soldiers. Notifications for conscription are now being dispatched not only via traditional mail but also through the state service's website Gosislugi, reflecting a more modernized approach to military recruitment. The Kremlin's decision comes at a time when diplomatic efforts to negotiate a ceasefire have stagnated. U.S. attempts to mediate peace talks have yielded little progress, and the conflict shows no signs of abating. Germany's outgoing Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has warned that Washington should remain cautious of what she termed Putin's stalling tactics in the peace process. In parallel, NATO continues to expand in response to Russian aggression, with Finland and Sweden recently joining the alliance. Finland's Prime Minister Petteri Orpo has announced plans to increase defense spending from 2.4% to 3% of GDP, reinforcing the region's military readiness amidst escalating tensions with Russia. As the landscape of military engagement shifts, the implications of these developments are vast. Analysts suggest that the expanded conscription could signal a prolonged commitment by Russia to sustain its military operations in Ukraine. The prospect of increased hostilities raises critical questions about the future of peace negotiations and regional stability, with the international community watching closely. The coming months will be pivotal. The effectiveness of diplomatic efforts to curtail conflict alongside the ramifications of Russia's military strategies will shape the geopolitical landscape in Eastern Europe for the foreseeable future. In a significant turn of events amidst the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, Russia refrained from launching any long-range strike drones into the country for the first time since December 2024. This unexpected lull in aerial assaults marks a noteworthy departure from the recent pattern of nightly mass drone attacks that have consistently targeted Ukrainian cities, often exceeding 100 drones in a single night. The Ukrainian Air Force reported that while 2 missiles were fired into the southern Zaporizhia region, both were intercepted and no drone warnings were issued during this period of apparent calm. Despite this unusual absence of drone strikes, Russian aggression remains palpable as frontline communities in Zaporizhia were subjected to guided bomb attacks, resulting in 1 fatality and several injuries. There were no strike UAVs, stated Andriy Kovalenko, head of Ukraine's counter-disinformation center, emphasizing that while the situation is being monitored, it does not definitively signal a broader shift in Russian military strategy. In recent months, both Kiev and Moscow have engaged in extensive cross-border drone strikes, even as U.S. officials have attempted to broker a ceasefire and a lasting peace agreement. A tentative pause in hostilities was discussed, particularly concerning attacks in the Black Sea and on energy infrastructure. However, both sides have accused each other of violating this agreement. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed to have intercepted 3 Ukrainian drones over its Bryansk region, alleging further Ukrainian strikes against energy facilities. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has consistently highlighted Russia's bombardments as clear evidence of President Vladimir Putin's lack of interest in genuine diplomacy. In a recent address, he condemned the ongoing shelling in numerous Ukrainian regions, asserting the geography and brutality of Russian strikes show that Putin couldn't care less about diplomacy. Zelensky has also criticized the U.S. proposal for a ceasefire, suggesting that Russian actions are merely attempts to prolong the conflict while gaining strategic advantages. Compounding the complexities of the situation, President Donald Trump has recently expressed frustration with both Putin and Zelensky. In interviews, he voiced skepticism about the sincerity of negotiations, suggesting that both leaders exhibit tremendous hatred toward each other, which complicates the pathway to peace. Trump's comments came after Putin questioned Zelensky's legitimacy to negotiate a peace deal, a situation that Trump characterized as deeply troubling. The president has hinted at the possibility of implementing new sanctions against Russia, particularly targeting its oil exports, which remain a critical source of revenue for the Kremlin. As the conflict continues to evolve, Zelensky remains resolute in his commitment to holding Russia accountable for its actions. He has coordinated efforts with allies, including the UK, to increase pressure on Russia, arguing that without strong measures, Moscow will persist in its aggressive tactics. Only through pressure can this be ended and Russia forced into peace, he emphasized in a recent address. Looking ahead, the situation remains precarious as both sides prepare for possible escalations. Analysts suggest that Russia may be gearing up for renewed military offensives aimed at consolidating its bargaining position in any potential ceasefire discussions. With the stakes higher than ever, the international community watches closely, hoping for a diplomatic resolution amidst continued hostilities. The coming weeks will be critical in determining whether the recent lull in drone activity signifies a shift towards peace or merely a temporary reprieve in a protracted and devastating conflict.